Welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin, and today we are going to be looking at double questions, and then we're going to move on to have a little look at a thing called the locative case. Okay, so we'll begin with double questions. Now, a double question, or alternative question, is where the questioner gives you two alternatives. So, are you a man or a mouse? Are you a boy or a girl? Okay, now in Latin, these are introduced by either ne, put on the end of the first word, or utrum, and they're followed by an, which means or annon, which means or not. Okay, so you might have a sentence like, are you alive or dead? So that would be utrum vivus an mortuus es. Okay, so you've got the utrum introducing the question, and when you see utrum, you know there's going to be an alternative offered to you. Utrum vivus an, so that word just means or, mortuus es. Are you alive or dead? Or you might have, is he alive or not? Utrum vivus est annon. Okay, annon literally just meaning or not. Utrum vivus est annon. Okay, or you might have a sentence like, shall I go to Rome or return home? Okay, these are my two choices. Shall I go to Rome or return home? Utrum Romam ibo an domum reveniam. Okay, or you could just as easily with that have said Romamne ibo an domum reveniam. So actually you can begin these double questions with either just ne, making it a question, and following it by an, or annon, meaning or not, or to make it more obvious that there's an alternative coming up, you can introduce them with utrum. Okay, but it doesn't really matter, you can take your pick. Okay, so we are in chapter 3 of the book here. We are on page 29. I'll just run through a couple of sentences for you. First one, curretne juvenis an ambulabit. Curretne juvenis an ambulabit. Okay, now curret from curo, which goes like rego, so that's the future tense. Curretne juvenis. Will the young man run an ambulabit? Or will he walk? Will the young man run or will he walk? Okay, we'll do another one. Utrum Romani Poenos superaverunt annon. Okay, so you've got utrum, you know there's going to be a double question coming up. Utrum Romani Poenos superaverunt. Have the Romans overcome the Carthaginians annon or not? Okay, simple question. Have they overcome the Carthaginians or not? Okay, and one more. We've got Romamne festinabo an hic manevo. So, shall I hurry to Rome or shall I remain here? Okay, double questions are pretty easy. A little bit of vocab to learn. You just need to know that an means or and that annon means or not. And you need to recognise that little word utrum. It sort of means whether, but you'll see it at the beginning of a sentence where there is an alternative coming up. Okay, now I want to move on now to the locative case. In some of these examples I've been giving, I've been doing this business of, Romamne ibo, shall I go to Rome? Okay, we didn't use a preposition in front of Romam, because it is the name of a town, a small island, domus or rus. Okay, remember that rule? Towns, small islands, domus or rus do not require a preposition when you're going to them or from them. Okay, but I'm now going to talk a little bit more about the locative case, because the locative case is a case that actually sort of, probably would have been in there when a poor little Roman school child was learning his nouns or her nouns, and they'd have been going nominative, vocative, accusative, genitive, dative, ablative. One of the cases they might have run through would have been locative. Now, the locative was a case, and is a case, that is used to describe where something is. And it's used, you won't be surprised to hear, with the names of towns and small islands, and domus and rus. And also the word humus, which means the ground. Okay? So if you want to say you live in Rome, or in Crete, or at home, I live at home, or I live in the countryside, rus, or I found it on the ground, using humus. Okay, so with towns, small islands, domus, rus, and humus, you use this form called the locative case, and you don't need a preposition. Okay, so I live in Rome, you're not going to need the preposition in plus the ablative. Okay, and if you live on Ithaca, you're not going to need a preposition for on. You're just going to put the word Ithaca into the locative case. Okay, all well and good, except that what is the locative case? And as I've said, the locative case sort of doesn't exist anymore as a separate case with any nouns. In fact, it fell out of use, right back in the early days of the development of the Latin language. And so you just have to know which case to use of a noun, a town, a small island, a domus, or a rus, or a humus, which case of those nouns to use that would have lined up with the locative had the locative still existed. Okay, and luckily it's pretty simple. As a general rule, singular nouns, okay, of the first and second declensions basically use the genitive case as their locative. Okay, plural nouns and third declension nouns use the ablative case. Okay, so if we give some examples of that, Roma, first declension, singular noun. If you want to say I live in Rome, okay, or things at Rome were pretty bad at this time, okay, so the locative case, you're going to use the genitive singular because Roma is a singular noun. So I live in Rome, habito Romae. Okay, it looks like a genitive, but in this context it is the locative case. I live in Rome, habito Romae, or Romae habito. Okay, so that's a first declension noun. If you remain in Ephesus, for example, Ephesus, second declension, singular noun. So again, we want the genitive. Ephesi maneo, I am remaining in Ephesus. Or Corinthi, I am in Corinth. Corinthus means Corinth. Corinthi would mean in Corinth, locative case. Okay, now a third declension one. Our old friend Carthago, Carthage. Okay, Carthago goes Carthaginius. It's a third declension noun. So if Hannibal grew up in Carthage, we would want the ablative case of Carthago, which would be Carthagine. Okay, and then if it was a plural place name, now you might think, what on earth is a plural place name? But Athens was a plural place name. So the Latin for Athens was Athenae, and that is a first declension plural noun. You never see it in the singular. Athenae is the Latin for Athens. It's a plural noun, so we need the ablative. So if I remain in Athens, habito Athenis. Okay, ablative of that plural noun. Okay, and as I've said, these locatives also apply to domus, rus, and humus. The thing with those is just learn the locative. That, you don't really need to muck about working out which case it is. It's just domi means at home. That is a kind of genitive form, domi, at home. Ruri means in the countryside. Now, rus, that's not a genitive actually. So just learn the locative of rus. It's ruri, ending in an I. So domi at home, ruri in the countryside, and humi on the ground. Okay, right. So that's the locative case for you. It's an extension of our rule about towns, small islands, domus and rus, that they don't need prepositions. Well, they don't need prepositions when you go to them. They don't need prepositions when you come from them. And now we know they don't need prepositions when you live or work or stay in them. Okay, the locative case, lovely little thing to add. Okay, so if you were putting those into Latin and you had to do something like, I will remain in Rome, okay, Romi manebo, I will remain in Rome. They do not wish to live in Corinth, Corinthus, so we want the genitive form of that to put it into the locative. Corinthi habitare nolunt. They do not want. That's from our friend Nolo. And then we've got one here. You are willing to live in Athens, aren't you? Okay, now do you remember these questions where you are asking a question to which the answer you expect is yes? Those are introduced by none. So, you are willing to live in Athens, aren't you? None Athenis habitare vis, okay, or vultis if you were talking to more than one person. And that's our friend Wallow. Okay, all these things that we learn as we go along, once you've learnt them, they start cropping up. Okay, Wallow, Nolo, Marlow, we learnt a few sessions ago. And we'll finish with a nice double question. Does he want to rule in Alexandria or not? Okay, does he want to rule in Alexandria or not? Now, you can either begin it with utrum. So, utrum Alexandriae vult annon. That would be one way of doing it. Or just Alexandriae regere vult annon. Okay, and actually we'll do one more. The body of the king was lying on the ground. Okay, the body of the king was lying on the ground. I'm doing this one because there's a bit of vocab here, which is quite fun. The verb to lie is yakeo, yakeri, yakui. It's going like moneo. Not to be confused with yakio, yakere, yaki, yaktum. So the body of the king, corpus regis, was lying on the ground. Okay, we've just learnt this. The locative of the word for the ground, which is humus, is humi. So, corpus regis humi yakebat. So there we go. Double questions and the locative. Wonderful new things to put in the armoury, and on we go with this incredible language. Okay, see you back here very soon on this channel. Do subscribe if you haven't already, and keep up the good work on the Latin.